For a long time, sustainability was perceived primarily as a compliance obligation, a box to tick, a report to submit, or a cost to absorb. Today, that perception is fundamentally changing. Across global markets, sustainability is emerging as a powerful strategic driver that shapes competitiveness, innovation, and long-term financial performance. This shift is not abstract or aspirational. It is observable, measurable, and increasingly unavoidable. South Korea offers one of the most compelling illustrations of this transformation. Korean firms have moved decisively beyond viewing sustainability as regulatory compliance and instead embedded it into corporate strategy, governance, and investment decisions. In this keynote, I will explore how sustainability has evolved into a source of competitive advantage and financial strength, and why the Korean experience offers critical lessons for businesses, policymakers, and academics worldwide. Why does sustainability matter so profoundly today? The answer lies in convergence. Capital markets, regulators, consumers, and employees are now aligned in their expectations. Investors increasingly price ESG risks into valuations. Regulators tighten disclosure and performance standards. Consumers reward responsible brands. Talented professionals seek purpose-driven employers. Sustainability now influences revenue growth, cost structures, access to capital, and risk management simultaneously. Firms that treat ESG as a peripheral reporting exercise increasingly face strategic disadvantages. In contrast, firms that integrate sustainability into decision-making gain resilience, legitimacy, and long-term profitability. In South Korea, this convergence is particularly visible as export exposure, regulatory reform, and capital market discipline accelerate the shift from compliance to strategy. The evolution of sustainability typically unfolds in three stages. The first stage is compliance, where firms respond reactively to regulations. The second stage is risk management, where sustainability reduces exposure to environmental, social, or governance failures. The third and most powerful stage is strategic differentiation. At this stage, sustainability actively shapes how firms compete, how they innovate, position brands, structure supply chains, and allocate capital. South Korean firms are increasingly operating in this third stage. Sustainability is no longer treated as a defensive shield, but as an offensive strategy. Firms use ESG capabilities to outperform competitors, access premium markets, and future-proof their business models. This transition marks a fundamental shift in how value is created. South Korea provides a uniquely strategic case for examining sustainability-driven competitiveness. Its economy is highly export-oriented, deeply integrated into global value chains, and exposed to international regulatory and market pressures. Korean firms must comply not only with domestic standards, but also with European carbon regulations, U.S. supply chain requirements, and global investor expectations. At the same time, historical governance challenges within large conglomerates have triggered substantial reform. Sustainability, therefore, emerged not as a luxury, but as a necessity. Korean firms that fail to adapt risk exclusion from markets, capital, and partnerships. Those that succeed convert sustainability into strategic leverage. Regulation is often viewed as a constraint on business. However, in South Korea, sustainability regulation has functioned as a strategic accelerator. Clear ESG guidelines, carbon neutrality commitments, and disclosure roadmaps have reduced uncertainty. This predictability allows firms to plan long-term investments in renewable energy, green technology, and operational efficiency. Rather than delaying innovation, regulation has encouraged it. When firms understand the direction of policy, they can align strategy proactively rather than reactively. In this sense, regulation does not hinder competitiveness. It enables it by creating a stable framework for sustainable investment. The triple bottom line, people, planet, and profit, has evolved from a conceptual framework into a strategic management tool. In South Korea, People translates into talent attraction, productivity, and organizational commitment. Planet drives efficiency, innovation, and cost reduction through cleaner production and resource optimization. Profit reflects long-term value creation rather than short-term earnings manipulation. When aligned strategically, these three dimensions reinforce one another. Sustainability becomes not a trade-off, but a multiplier, enhancing both social legitimacy and financial performance. Sustainability strengthens classic competitive strategies. It supports cost leadership through energy efficiency and waste reduction. It enables differentiation through green products, ethical branding, and technological leadership. It enhances focus strategies by aligning firms with specific sustainability-conscious market segments. In South Korea, sustainability is increasingly embedded into strategic planning frameworks rather than appended as an afterthought. This integration transforms ESG from a reporting obligation into a source of sustained competitive advantage. Samsung Electronics demonstrates how sustainability can be operationalized strategically. Investments in renewable energy reduce long-term cost volatility. Circular manufacturing lowers material dependency and waste. Supplier ESG integration strengthens supply chain resilience and reduces reputational risk. These initiatives are not philanthropic. They directly support operational efficiency, brand value, and financial stability. Samsung illustrates that when sustainability is embedded into core operations, it delivers tangible strategic and financial returns. Hyundai Motor Group exemplifies sustainability-driven innovation. Its leadership in electric vehicles and hydrogen mobility is not merely an environmental response. It is a strategic repositioning toward future mobility markets. ESG considerations shape R&D priorities, capital allocation, and market strategy. As global demand shifts toward low-carbon transportation, Hyundai's sustainability investments strengthen competitiveness and long-term profitability. Innovation and sustainability in this case are inseparable. The link between sustainability and financial performance is increasingly supported by evidence. Firms with strong ESG performance often enjoy lower costs of capital, improved valuation multiples, and more stable earnings. In South Korea, sustainability-oriented firms attract long-term institutional investors and demonstrate greater resilience during market disruptions. Sustainability reduces risk premiums and enhances strategic credibility, key drivers of financial performance in volatile environments. The transition of sustainability from a niche concern to a core strategic driver is perhaps most visible in South Korea's capital markets. We are seeing a structural shift led by the Korea Exchange, or KRX, through the introduction of specialized ESG indices. These indices provide a benchmark for performance, making it easier for capital to flow toward firms that demonstrate genuine sustainable leadership. However, the real pressure is coming from institutional investors. The National Pension Service, one of the largest in the world, has increasingly integrated ESG factors into its investment decisions. This is supported by the strengthening of the Stewardship Code, which encourages investors to act as active owners rather than passive observers. When major institutions demand ESG transparency as a condition for investment, sustainability becomes a matter of financial survival. For Korean firms, meeting these standards is no longer just about reputation. It is about securing the capital necessary for future growth. In the context of South Korea, the G in ESG, governance, is often the most direct lever for value creation. For years, the Korea discount was a reality where firms were undervalued due to perceived governance risks. Today, we are seeing a strategic reversal. Governance reform is no longer seen as a regulatory burden, but as a method to unlock trapped market value. The focus has shifted toward genuine board independence. By bringing in diverse external perspectives, Korean boards are improving their oversight and strategic decision-making. This is coupled with a push for radical transparency in reporting and operations, which directly reduces the risk premium for investors. As firms strengthen their governance frameworks, they rebuild shareholder trust. This trust is a tangible asset. It leads to higher valuations, more stable stock performance, and a stronger foundation for long-term growth. In short, better governance makes Korean firms more attractive on the global stage. A unique characteristic of the South Korean model is the twin transition, the powerful convergence of digital transformation and sustainability. We are moving past the era of vague environmental goals into an era of operational intelligence. In South Korea, this is being realized through the rapid adoption of smart factories. These facilities leverage AI and IoT to optimize resource flows in real time. By integrating data analytics into the manufacturing process, firms are achieving a triple win. They are reducing waste, cutting energy consumption, and minimizing defects simultaneously. This makes sustainability measurable, manageable, and, most importantly, monetizable. We are no longer guessing our carbon footprint, we are tracking it at the machine level. This data-driven approach allows ESG to move from a back-office reporting function to a frontline operational strategy. When sustainability is powered by digital intelligence, it ceases to be a cost center and becomes a primary driver of lean, efficient, and highly competitive production. The transition to a sustainable economy requires massive capital, and South Korea has effectively used green finance to bridge this gap. The government has fostered a robust ecosystem where capital is intentionally channeled towards sustainable projects. Green bonds have become a pivotal tool, allowing firms to fund eco-friendly infrastructure at competitive rates. Furthermore, strategic tax credits for green investments act as a powerful incentive for corporations to accelerate their ESG integration. By reducing the green premium, the higher cost of sustainable technologies, these financial mechanisms lower the barrier to entry for innovation. This ecosystem ensures that sustainability is not just a moral choice, but a financially sound one. In South Korea, green finance turns environmental responsibility into a fiscal advantage, creating a stable framework for long-term, sustainable capital allocation. It is a common misconception that sustainability is a luxury reserved for large conglomerates. In South Korea, SMEs are realizing that ESG is a critical factor for survival and growth. As global lead firms tighten their procurement standards, sustainability has become a license to operate within international supply chains. SMEs that proactively adopt ESG standards gain a significant edge in cost competitiveness through resource efficiency and waste reduction. More importantly, it enhances their export readiness. In an era where carbon border adjustments and ethical sourcing are becoming the norm, being green allows Korean SMEs to bypass trade barriers. By aligning with global expectations, these smaller enterprises secure better access to financing and long-term contracts. In this context, sustainability is the ladder that allows SMEs to climb higher in the global value chain. Beyond operations and finance, sustainability has become a cornerstone of brand strategy. In the modern marketplace, a brand is no longer just what it sells, but what it stands for. Korean companies are increasingly using their ESG commitments to build deep consumer trust, moving beyond functional benefits to emotional and ethical alignment. This shift allows brands to command premium pricing. Consumers are often willing to pay more for products that are verifiably sustainable and ethically produced. On the global stage, a strong sustainability record enhances reputation and provides a soft power advantage. By positioning themselves as responsible global citizens, Korean firms are able to differentiate themselves from lower-cost competitors. Ultimately, sustainability is a powerful marketing tool that converts corporate responsibility into brand equity and long-term customer loyalty. In an increasingly volatile world, sustainability is the ultimate tool for risk management. Korean firms are moving away from reactive firefighting toward a model of strategic foresight. Climate risk is no longer just an environmental concern. It is a physical and financial threat to assets and supply chains. By integrating ESG, companies can identify these vulnerabilities early. Similarly, proactive sustainability buffers against regulatory risk, ensuring firms stay ahead of tightening global mandates rather than being penalized by them. Perhaps most importantly, it protects reputational risk in a digital age where a single ethical lapse can go viral instantly. By embedding sustainability into the corporate DNA, South Korean businesses are transforming these external uncertainties into internal resilience. This is not just about avoiding disaster, it is about creating a stable, predictable foundation for long-term strategic growth. In South Korea, businesses are embracing the idea that what gets measured gets managed, especially when it comes to sustainability. Companies are shifting from vague sustainability descriptions to concrete ESG KPIs. These metrics are no longer just in sustainability reports. They are now part of core financial and operational reporting. By using strategic dashboards, management can track environmental and social performance in real time, similar to how they monitor profits. This data-driven approach helps align executive incentives with long-term value creation. When sustainability metrics are visible alongside financial data, strategic decisions consider their impact on the firm's long-term health and resilience. For sustainability to move from a report to a reality, it must start at the top. In the most successful South Korean firms, we see a profound shift where the CEO is the primary champion of the ESG vision. This top-down commitment is essential for organizational alignment. Without it, sustainability remains a peripheral task. However, leadership is only half the battle. The true goal is a complete cultural transformation where every employee, from the boardroom to the factory floor, understands how their role contributes to a sustainable future. Korean companies are increasingly embedding these values into their corporate DNA through training, internal communication, and shared purpose. When sustainability becomes a cultural norm rather than a set of rules, innovation happens naturally. This cultural shift ensures that the firm's strategic growth engine is powered not just by policy, but by the collective mindset of its people. One of the most profound shifts in the South Korean corporate landscape is the movement away from the quarterly earnings trap. Historically, short-termism has pressured managers to prioritize immediate profits at the expense of future resilience. Sustainability, however, acts as a bridge to long-termism. It encourages the pursuit of patient capital, attracting investors who value stable, compounding returns over speculative gains. By focusing on long-term ESG milestones, Korean firms are empowered to make strategic investments that may take years to mature, such as deep tech green R&D or carbon-neutral infrastructure. This perspective transforms the definition of success. Growth is no longer just about being bigger next quarter. It's about being better and more resilient in the next decade. Ultimately, this shift ensures that today's profitability does not come at the expense of tomorrow's viability, creating a foundation for truly sustainable growth. The South Korean experience provides a valuable roadmap for emerging economies looking to balance growth with responsibility. The first lesson is that regulation should not be feared. When designed clearly, it acts as a powerful enabler that reduces market uncertainty. Second, the shift from compliance to strategy is where the real value lies. Emerging markets should avoid seeing ESG as a Western tax and instead view it as a toolkit for modernization. Finally, the most successful transitions are market-driven. When sustainability is linked to innovation and global competitiveness, it gains its own momentum without requiring constant subsidies. By aligning national development goals with global sustainability trends, emerging economies can leapfrog traditional, carbon-intensive industrial stages. The Korean case proves that sustainability is not a destination for wealthy nations alone, but a strategic engine that can drive the next generation of global economic leaders. The shift towards strategic sustainability isn't just changing the boardroom, it's fundamentally reshaping the ivory tower. We are witnessing the birth of a new research agenda where traditional silos are breaking down. In finance and accounting, the focus has shifted from historical cost to the valuation of intangible ESG assets. In management, we are re-examining competitive advantage through the lens of resource circularity rather than just resource extraction. This transformation demands a deeply interdisciplinary approach, blending economics with environmental science and sociology. A critical area for future scholarship is the evolution of ESG metrics, moving from fragmented data to standardized high-integrity reporting systems. For academics, the challenge and the opportunity lie in bridging the gap between theory and practice. Our research must provide the empirical evidence and the frameworks that will guide the next generation of sustainable corporate leaders and policymakers. We have transitioned into an era of smart regulation, where the government sets clear, predictable decarbonization roadmaps, such as the 2026 KETS reforms, allowing firms to plan long-term investments with confidence. The strategy here is incentive alignment. Policy financing, like the 4.4 trillion Korean won allocated for 2026, ensures that SMEs and innovators are rewarded for sustainable transitions. Institutional support from bodies like the Ministry of Climate and the Bank of Korea provides the necessary financial safety nets and climate risk supervision. By providing infrastructure, such as RE100 industrial complexes, the state reduces the individual risks of going green. Ultimately, policy serves as the bridge that connects high-level national targets with ground-level corporate innovation, creating a synchronized and highly competitive national economy. While we have explored the benefits of action, we must confront the severe consequences of inertia. In today's global economy, ignoring sustainability is a high-risk gamble. First, firms face capital exclusion. Major institutional investors, especially in the KOSPI, are increasingly divesting from companies without clear transition pathways, leading to significantly higher borrowing costs. Second, there is the risk of market loss. As multinational lead firms enforce green mandates, non-compliant companies are being systematically dropped from global supply chains. This leads to a strategic decline where the firm loses its competitive edge and financial relevance. Ultimately, the cost of inaction far outweighs the investment required for transition. Failing to adapt doesn't just mean standing still, it means being left behind. Looking ahead, South Korea is positioned to transition from a fast follower to a global ESG innovation leader. We are entering the era of AI-driven ESG, where agentic AI and advanced data analytics allow firms to automate complex disclosures and predict climate risks with unprecedented accuracy. Simultaneously, the launch of Korea's voluntary carbon market and the evolution of the KETS Phase 4 are creating sophisticated financial incentives for decarbonization. As the KESG guidelines align with international standards, Korean firms are becoming the benchmark for sustainable industrial excellence. This trajectory suggests that by 2030, sustainability will not just be a part of the Korean economy. It will be its primary engine of global leadership, setting the pace for the digital green twin transition. Sustainability has evolved from a reporting requirement into a sophisticated form of strategic intelligence. By integrating ESG factors into the corporate lens, leaders significantly improve their decision quality. It allows firms to move beyond narrow, short-term financial data and consider the broader environmental and social signals that dictate future market shifts. This integration fosters strategic foresight, enabling companies to anticipate regulatory changes, resource scarcities, and shifting consumer preferences long before they become crises. Ultimately, this builds competitive resilience. In the South Korean context, firms that treat sustainability as intelligence are better equipped to navigate global volatility and identify emerging growth opportunities. They aren't just reacting to the world, they are using sustainability data to outthink and outmaneuver the competition. The true hallmark of a mature sustainability strategy is the transition from simply reporting impact to actively creating value. For too long, ESG was treated as a retrospective accounting exercise, a look back at what was done. Today, leading Korean firms are embedding ESG directly into their forward-looking corporate strategy. This shift is where sustainability becomes monetized. By optimizing resource use, capturing green market shares, and reducing the cost of capital, firms translate ethical choices into superior financial outcomes. This isn't just about doing good, it's about building a durable competitive advantage. When sustainability moves from the annual report to the profit and loss statement, it proves that the transition is no longer a cost to be managed, but a growth engine to be harnessed. To the executives and leaders here today, the time for viewing sustainability through the lens of compliance has passed. My call to action is threefold. First, you must integrate ESG into your core strategy. It cannot remain a separate department. It must be the foundation of your R&D and capital allocation. Second, invest with purpose. Use your resources to drive innovations that solve environmental and social challenges while opening new market frontiers. Finally, lead the transformation. Cultural change starts with a visible commitment from the top. Treat sustainability as a strategic imperative, a source of intelligence and resilience that will define your organization's success. Those who lead this charge in South Korea and beyond will not only survive the transition, but will dominate the sustainable economy of the future. To the academics and policymakers in the room, you are the architects of the sustainability ecosystem. My call to action for you is to prioritize research relevance. We need studies that provide the empirical how-to for firms transitioning to green business models. For policymakers, the focus must be on policy innovation, creating smart, predictable frameworks that incentivize long-term investment rather than just penalizing emissions. Finally, we must collaborate on talent development. We need to equip the next generation of leaders with the ESG literacy and interdisciplinary skills required to manage this complex landscape. By bridging the gap between research and regulation, you provide the stability and the roadmap that allows the private sector to innovate with confidence. Your role is to ensure the growth engine has the right fuel and the right track. As we conclude, the central message is clear. Sustainability is no longer a peripheral concern. It has become the new competitive logic of modern capitalism. We have seen how it reshapes strategy, drives performance, and is anchored in purpose. South Korea stands as a powerful testament to this transition. By embedding ESG into the corporate and national DNA, Korea demonstrates that the choice between doing good and doing well is a false dichotomy. When sustainability is treated as a strategic growth engine, it delivers both profound social value and sustained financial profit. This is the future of global business, a future where competitiveness is defined by resilience, innovation, and responsibility. Let us embrace this new logic to build a more prosperous and sustainable world. Thank you.